Good morning, everyone. We're going to call the commission meeting to order. First two items of business this morning would be approval of the minutes from the November 19, 2015 meeting and the treasurer's report. I'd like to entertain one motion to accept both of those if there are no adjustments or corrections or anything.
So moved.
Motion's been made.
Second.
Second. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Carried. Next item under action items is designation of depository as a public fund investments. Mike?
Yes, Mr. Chair, this is an annual thing we do each year to say that the Northwest Cable Commission designates Wells Fargo and the Wings Credit Union as our depositories for the regular operating funds, and then Wells Fargo Securities and Harbor Investments for the Northwest Suburbs Cable Communication Investments. And basically, you're here to authorize officers to act for and on behalf of, and we do this every single year, in regard to financial transactions for the official depositories for regular operating funds and investments. And both myself and Helen Lefebvre are listed as signatories for the Cable Commission and the board.
Any questions on this item? If not, entertain a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next item is the CenturyLink update or lack thereof.
Mr. Chair, I will turn it over to Leslie Saporito from the Baller Herbst law firm. So Leslie, if you can give us a quick update.
Thank you. The update is, yes, more than 5 months have passed since we last were communicating, working with CenturyLink. We provided them with an updated draft, and they had promised that they would send us their revisions, and we have not received that. We have continued to communicate with them. The most recent response we received from them was on December 7th, and in their answer they apologized for their delay, and they did indicate that they were going to provide us with an updated draft sometime at this point, I guess I would say, because he had said he was going to have the opportunity to start reviewing it in late January, but that was similar to the same comment we received in October from them. But he did indicate that they are very interested in being a provider in this area to provide our customers, our residents, with a competitive choice. So we are hopeful that we can resume negotiations with them and discussions with them shortly. And we will continue. We sent them most recently an email on February 4th, and we have not received a response. Any questions? Yes.
So 2 questions. Number one, can we ask them, and I know we can, but will you ask them, who have you negotiated with and completed since you completed Minneapolis? Maybe you know the answer to that. I don't know.
I do. I don't have the list in front of me. I apologize. I can provide that.
Are they bigger cities than us in general, or don't you know?
Well, there are some other groups, and then there's some smaller cities, but it seems that they're working with similar attorneys on it, I think, is what the similarity is.
Okay, it seems to me like they've determined that we're not as important as whoever else they're doing this with, and they're claiming they are short-staffed, and only one person can apparently read and give suggestions, and he's not even a lawyer.
Right.
He can read and give suggestions on how the agreement with us can be changed.
Correct. And I don't understand, because our agreement was it's very similar to what I've reviewed all the other agreements that they have entered into, and it seems like we are at a final stage, so I don't understand what we are waiting on, but we've tried to communicate with him about it, and we don't understand.
And then remind me, this is my second question, which is about my 5th question. Remind me, our $2.03 that goes up to $2.33 or whatever the monthly fee was, has that started already?
It's $1.36 per month, and that started more than a year ago now.
Right.
For the PEG fee from Comcast.
So it went from $1.03 to $1.36, but we're getting that already.
Oh yes,
Oh, yeah.
yes.
Okay.
And one item on CenturyLink, I had heard through some other executive directors, again, this is just secondhand, that CenturyLink is actually planning on not going to some cities at this point. We weren't one in that rumor or what things were talked about there, but it might be that they've got so much to do that their operations can only keep up with so much, because what we hear on the operational side is that people within those cities are they keep calling wondering if they could get the service. And as you know, when we saw those original maps a year ago that had the sporadic dots throughout the city, that in itself, once CenturyLink gets here, will be our next big challenge, because we'll be getting calls from people going, how come I can't get it? My neighbor across the street can get it, but I can't, that whole thing. So that's starting to happen within the Twin Cities. And I know they're starting to advertise saying, cut your cable or, disconnect Comcast and come over here, but they might have the cart before the horse, because there's gonna be a lot of people calling them and they're gonna say, well, we're sorry, we can't serve you. So we'll see how it all plays out.
Right. We feel that we have a good advantages. We're getting to see how it's playing out throughout the country, because I'm in communication with attorneys across the country to see how are things working and and considering maybe things we should look at, like customer service issues and such, that we want to make sure that's addressed.
Thank you.
Comcast came to Golden Valley, and this was for their high speed, and we were going to have a test area, and I think I brought this up one other time here. And we have an ordinance about all utilities have to be underground as we move forward. Well, they came and asked us if they want to use the pools, and we did change our ordinance in certain circumstances. We have to be careful, because then we have to address it to all utility companies, but in backyards oftentimes it's really hard to get them buried. And so we changed our ordinance for that, and then they came back and they were not happy. They wanted even more, and we did say no. It's like they're not very consistent. We met their, what they would like. Then it turned out we changed our ordinance. Then it wasn't enough, and so now they're not even coming. We changed our ordinance back, and they're not coming to Golden Valley. But I just wonder how much follow-through they have, because we spent time changing that ordinance, but then it turned out it wasn't good enough.
Commissioner Clausen, are you referring to CenturyLink and not Comcast? With
CenturyLink.
Okay, we just wanted to clarify.
And they were gonna do a test area over off of 169 for high speed, because they can't afford doing everybody at once. So they were gonna take the areas they already might have, customers, whatever, and, but then we did change our ordinance so they could put them on some poles, but then they wanted more, and when we said no, they backed out. But it's not like they're very consistent. That worries me.
And one of their main head ends is right in the city of Golden Valley. That's going to serve the entire Twin Cities, so that's even more interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
Any other questions? Okay, item 5 on your agenda is set-top boxes. Leslie, Mike, both?
This is for Leslie.
Thank you. And we provided you with an article, and that's really where a lot of our information is right now in regard to the FCC's notice of proposed rulemaking. We have not had an opportunity to review this notice because they are voting on whether or not they will release it today. We anticipate that it will be released today, but it will provide, and what we anticipate, so we're reading tea leaves, is that the notice will encourage ways for reducing costs for consumers by encouraging competitors to enter the market of set-top boxes, excuse me. And without walking through the whole thing, a lot of the information that will be able to be released will be information about what programming is available to consumers, such as channel listings and video on demand lined up, and what's on those channels, so that when somebody is developing new set-top boxes or other means for people to access their programming, it will be easier. Entitlements such as information about what device is allowed to do with content, such as recording, and then also the video programming itself. So in addition to making sure that our customers have the opportunity to have reduced costs, one of our concerns is, and again, we don't know for sure how it's going to be addressed, is making sure that our PEG programming and local origination programming will be available on these devices as well, and so that we don't have any loss as far as people's ability to easily access this programming that's really important to the commission. So that is something we will watch, and if it is of concern, then I will ask if the commission would like us to participate in writing a comment to the FCC about this to make sure our interests are expressed. Any questions? Thank you.
Okay, number 6 on your agenda, Comcast update.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have Kate Hensing she's the Manager of Government Affairs at Comcast Cable. She will be giving us an update on some of the various activities at Comcast, and also talk about, we were just talking about set-top boxes. Comcast is going through an upgrade on the Comcast boxes, and we'll let Kate explain that and everything about all the new customer service things that will be taking place over in St. Paul. So take it away, Kate.
Great, thanks. Thanks for inviting me today. It's great to be here. First, I'd like to tell you guys we're having a job fair at our St. Paul office on February 23rd. We have about 120 open jobs right now, so we're definitely interested in meeting people in all of your communities, seeing what they're interested in, letting them know where we have opportunities for them. And we're also opening a new call center in St. Paul with 400 new people coming. And that's part of our customer experience story. Last year we said we were investing $300 million in the customer experience. And so part of that is bringing call centers back into the United States, and we're happy to announce that we'll have one in St. Paul. Another one. We already have one in St. Paul. Now we're having a second one. And then lastly, so this letter on MPEG 4, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys have. This is it's a new technology that we're introducing. We currently have MPEG 2, and MPEG 4 frees up HD capacity, and it produces faster internet speeds because it uses bandwidth more efficiently. So basically what customers need to know, they'll receive 3 notifications prior to the change, which occurs on May 1st, occurs during May. And all they need to do is tune into channel 1995 on their television, each television that has a piece of equipment, and it will tell them if they need a new piece of equipment. And if they do need a new piece, they can order it right there from their television, or they can go into any store or call in, and it will be shipped to them. And then it'll work. Then they can just get rid of their other piece of equipment, ship it back to Comcast, and then they'll be able to have the new technology. If there's any questions on that? Yeah.
How does that fit in with your X1 changeover?
So
For those of us who haven't done X1 yet.
Yeah. Well, I highly recommend upgrading to X1. If you have an X1 box, it doesn't affect it at all. If you already have it, you don't have to worry about a new piece of equipment. It already has MPEG 4 technology on it. So by all means, if you notice that you need a new piece of equipment, you can absolutely get an X1 in your house.
So if I do X1, that takes care of it?
Yep. And like I said, I highly recommend it.
Okay. Is that something I can just pick up the new units and bring back the old ones?
Yep,
Or-
absolutely. You can go into the store
Okay.
and say, here's my old box. I'd like to get the X1. And there you go. They'll hand it over. We made sure that all of our stores have plenty of equipment so customers won't have a problem going in and being told, oh, there's not equipment. We've made sure that we have enough in all of our stores.
Any other questions? Bill?
So, can you tell us what progress Comcast is making in putting in homes more energy efficient set-top boxes like they do in Europe that go into a deep sleep and don't keep running all the time,
Right.
sucking energy?
Shoot, I wish I did a newsletter end of last year that talks about how we're becoming more energy efficient at Comcast with purchasing hybrid vehicles. I will get you the information on the set-top boxes because I honestly don't want to say the wrong thing. So I'll get that to you today though, because I know we have a article on it, on what our set-top boxes do.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, thanks for being with us this
Thank
morning.
you.
Thank you, Keith.
Is there anything else to come before the commission meeting?
Mr. Chair, speaking of Mr. Chair, we have new chairs here. We've been doing these meetings for over 30 years, and I don't know how many board members I've heard and commissioners over the years saying, can we get something just a tad more comfortable as opposed to these little plastic squeaky chairs? And so this is as a result of 30 years of you telling me to do it, I've got it done. Better late than never, so enjoy.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to say that my hearing aid is better today with the microphones also.
Anything else to come before the commission? If not, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
So welcome to the Northwest Community Television Board of Directors meeting. First thing on our agenda are consent items, the minutes and the treasurer's report. If there's a motion on both items, be happy to take that.
Second.
Approved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. And action items. New member.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I would like to, Madam Chair, I'm sorry. I would like to introduce Sue Ellen Zagrabelny right over here. Congratulations, welcome to the Northwest Community Television Board of Directors. Sue Ellen ran for the board with a volunteer election that we have actually we have one every year. It's through a rotational basis. Sue Ellen is a Maple Grove resident, and she's been involved quite a bit here working on programs. We also gave you a lot of information on Sue Ellen in terms of her background. She's been all over the country, and she's glad to be back here in Minnesota. Grew up in the far north reaches of the state. And Sue Ellen, did you want to say anything at all?
I'm just very happy to be here and look forward to learning what I'm supposed to do.
All right. Well, thank you.
Okay, next we have designation of depositories. It'll sound pretty familiar.
This sounds very familiar, and without reading the language again, the auditors recommend, in the past we just simply did this as a commission item. The auditors recommended that we also include this on the Northwest Community Television side because funds are expended obviously on both sides, and we just want approval to go ahead with the same, it's basically exact same depositories in terms of Wells Fargo and Wings, and signers on the accounts and the investments. So we just seek approval on that.
Okay, is there a motion to approve those? Somebody on the board of directors want to make a motion?
Make a motion.
Okay, we've got moved. Is there a second? Okay, moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, then we have some committee vacancies, and I like, it's good to know that none of these take any time at all. Makes me very excited to just jump right in and be a member of a committee, so.
Yes, Madam Chair, I just want to mention that we basically have 3 openings. One is on the Northwest Community Television Executive Committee, and if you go to the second page of the overall packet, it'll have the roster and committee assignments, and you'll see at the very end of that we have an opening on the NWCT Officers Executive Committee, one on the Budget Committee, and one on the Policies and Activities Committee. And all those committees are listed here. And again, not a lot of time investment in this particular case, but if you you read through that, and if you're interested, we'd certainly like to make some appointments. Now, I don't know what to do. Typically we don't have enough volunteers, but I know sometimes in the past we've had situations where more than one person was interested in a particular committee. I think we basically held like an instant runoff election, and I don't know if we want to do that again, or simply just find out if anybody's interested first in any of these committees, and then go from there.
So if there's anybody on the board of directors that is interested in any of these committee assignments, if you want to raise a hand, or.
I'd like to be interested in the executive committee.
Okay.
Okay. Scott?
I'd like to join the budget committee, please.
Okay, which leaves the Policies and Activities Committee.
Is
Sue
there a
Ellen?
newbie on it?
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Any other volunteers? Any other volunteers? So we've got three interested parties for three appointments. So if I can get a motion to make those committee assignments. Yes, Dwayne. Oh, Dwayne will make the motion, or is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much for stepping forward to fill those vacancies. Next, we have closed captioning update.
Yes, Madam Chair, as you recall, at the last meeting, we briefly talked about closed captioning. I had the opportunity to take part in a little symposium, actually at the FCC headquarters, where the FCC, they're actually committee room. I was asked to be a part of that to kind of put in our 2 cents in terms of what it would be like in an organization of this size. And at the time, back at the November meeting, I said that we would come back with a little more information for you. And so I asked our municipal media services manager, Tim Gaffron, to put together some information and give you an update. So, Tim?
Thank you. It will be brief. There's been a few inquiries over the past several years, and I'm not going to read this whole memo to you that's in the packet. It's self-explanatory. But there have been a few inquiries over the past few years about the possibility or the availability of doing closed captioning. City of Crystal is currently looking into it, and I've been assisting them with that a little bit. And so it's a learning process. It's something new that we have not really delved into very much in the past. It can be a very complex thing with all the outlets that we have for our programming, between cable casting, web streaming, YouTube, DVD distribution. We've got to make sure that if we do it for one, we have to do it all, is our understanding. The position that most city attorneys have taken in our area and across the country seems to be that closed captioning of city meetings is not required under current law. Some entities in our area have decided to do it. Most notably, Hennepin County Board Commission meetings are closed caption, and I am in contact with them, or trying to be in contact with them, to get more information on what their costs and how they handle it are. Mike attended a seminar or two in Washington, D.C., I believe, recently, and asked me to look into this. It does appear from the information he brought back that there is possibly new FCC rulemaking in the offing that may require captioning. Some of that rulemaking may happen this spring yet, as well as Department of Justice may be making some rules, and maybe some ADA ruling that comes into effect here. So we're going to keep an eye on these developments, what they mean for our operation and the cities that we serve. And that's kind of where we're at right now with it, is just exploration and finding out, okay, what do we need to know? And the second page of this report is just some background on options and costs for doing it. It's not an inexpensive proposition to do, and it suggests the research I've done so far and some of the numbers that we've gotten back for Crystal suggests that it could anywhere run just the setup costs, the equipment, $10,000 to $15,000 per site for the equipment. And then that cost of the actual captioning is, the quotes we've been getting are in the range of $150 per hour, sometimes with a 2-hour minimum, sometimes a 1-hour minimum with quarter-hour increments after that. And so it's not an inexpensive proposition. I kind of ran some numbers for City of Brooklyn Park, had 53 City Council, EDA, and Planning Commission meetings broadcast in 2015. Based on the average length of those meetings, and this is just a rough number, the cost of just the captioning part of it, not the equipment, was in the neighborhood of $15,000 for the year. Osseo had 43 meetings that we covered in 2015, and that number was just under $10,000 for the year to cover that. So there are some significant costs involved in doing it, and we'll have to figure out, if and when we have to do it, how we're gonna pay for it. And so, that's kind of where we're at right now, but we're keeping our eyes open on it and making sure that, we've got it covered if we need to. So, I'm happy to answer any questions, or try to anyway.
Are you talking about live closed captioning? So if we're watching a live city council meeting, somebody would be there
That
a few
is-
seconds behind? But
There are
kinda like
two
sports or something?
There are two options. Doing it live is an option, or doing it after the fact is an option. There are pitfalls with each. Doing it live is a little bit more expensive to do. However, when you do it live, it goes to all the different recording devices and all the different outlets at the same time, and it's done. If you have it done after the fact, there's going to be a delay of anywhere from a couple of days to a week or so before the captioning is done. And then we have to redo all the various outlets that this video is playing on. So that means if it's going to Granicus or to YouTube or replaying on cable, or DVDs are made of the meeting, then we have to recreate all that stuff. And so that will take, a significant amount of staff time to do after the fact. And so we would have to weigh those options and see. My gut feeling recommendation right now is that we would try to do it live. There are services that do this. This $150 an hour is usually a service who is off-site somewhere. We have to set up lines, either computer lines or phone lines for them, and it gets captioned live. The signal goes out to them. They may be in Florida, and then it comes back and gets inserted before it goes out on the air. And so there's a little bit of a delay like you see on live television. If you turn on the closed captioning on your television at home, there's a slight delay, and there's more of a margin of error when you do it live, but I mean, they're pretty good. I've watched a couple of them, and they're fairly accurate.
So this is something that's best left to professionals, that volunteers here or in the cities probably would not be
I
suitable.
think it's something that you would want a professional captioner to do.
Is there any legal liability if, say, the Robbinsdale City Council, he accidentally transcribed something unflattering to Bill here? Could he turn around and sue?
I can't imagine anybody would say anything bad about Bill. I think, the biggest concern would be that a vote is recorded wrongly, or somebody says, "Oh, I object to that," and it gets transcribed as, "I agree with that," or something like that. But I don't know what the liability or the legalities of that being a legal document are or are not versus a public record.
So if we had an external service doing this, they would presumably be bonded or otherwise take responsibility for it.
We'll have to look into that and see. Yep.
So this just says what it would cost for the presentations. What about the hardware? If you were to look at, for each of the different cities, I'm assuming you're going to have upgrade either mics or things so they can capture it that far out.
We shouldn't have to do upgrades to the actual video production systems. Basically, it's just buying the captioning box that gets placed in City Hall. We run the audio into that captioning box, and then it goes out to, the video signal, and then that captioning box, somebody remotely logs into that, creates the captioning, it comes back in through that box, and then out on the air or to the record devices. So we really shouldn't have to redo any of the existing council chambers infrastructure. The microphones and things like that should all.
So how about bandwidth? Do we have to increase bandwidth or have dedicated pipes to and from?
I believe there will have to be either dedicated phone lines or some sort of dedicated pipe in and out, but I don't know enough about it right now to answer that accurately. So.
And then when you come back, will this be like you'll have an RFP for all of these different places, and then we could choose which one is either closer or?
At some point, I'm sure that when we find out that we have to actually do this, then yes, we will put together a proposal or an RFP of some sort and say, we need quotes on this, and figure out how we're going to do it for 9 cities. And then the other thing in the mix is what about the stuff that we do here? Do we have to do it for Channel 12? Do we have news and Northwest Community Corner and Sports Jam? And then does it have to be done for the public access programming as well? And so, I mean, there's a whole lot of complex parts of this that we don't know yet until the rulemaking happens.
So does it make more sense to be asking these questions, finding out what it would cost prior to the rule saying you have to do this versus we want to do this or we're considering this? Essentially, once the rule is passed, then they know we're kind of captive. We're going to have to pay what it is that they choose for us to pay. But if we lean forward and say, we're considering to do this as a 9-city effort, and this is what we're bringing to you, I think the market rate might go down a little bit, cost would go down a little bit. We would be in the bargaining versus behind the curve.
Right. That's something we can look into and, you know, determine the best route to go with something like that. We're not going to bargain with the FCC, I don't think.
No, not that, but you're going to bargain with somebody that's going to cost, you know, once they make the rule, then those niche companies know you have to do this and they can set the price.
Right. Yep. No, I hear what you're saying, and the equipment providers seem to be one kind of entity, and then the service providers are a different entity, and so that's one of the challenges that we're finding right now is just trying to figure out, okay, who do we get to do this? And the AV vendors in town don't seem to be very well versed in it at this point yet because they haven't had to do a lot of it. So,
Okay, Helen, you had a question?
The costs you've quoted in here, are you pretty confident in those? You've got equipment cost, staff cost, and then approximate cost for a couple different cities. So you've pulled together the cost estimates already, so we've got a rough estimate we're working with.
Right. I think the equipment costs hopefully won't range that high, but there are, I don't know what all the intricacies are of what has to go in place as far as phone lines and things like that, and so there may be costs involved in that. So I think the purchase and installation numbers are okay. I really don't know on the service costs. You know, based on, I just went through and figured out, okay, this is how many hours of programming there was. The average meeting was 2 hours long at this particular city, or an hour and 45 minutes long, or whatever. And you know, there's going to be some nights when you have a 5-hour meeting. There's going to be some nights when you have a 15-minute meeting, and then those minimums come into play. And so I use the the minimums in those cases. So they're fairly rough, but I think
they're ballpark.
They're ballpark,
which is what we want at this point. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Right. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Let's see. Annual programming report.
Yes. Thank you. Everybody should have received the report. I think last year we handed it out at the meeting. This time we mailed it out way in advance for you to look over. I'm certainly not going to read this entire thing, but I'm going to just hit some highlights. I do want to say that we've been doing this report now 4 years, and it's been a great thing for us to kind of look back and see all the different things that we have done. There's been a lot of stories. Every statistic in here is really a story. It goes back to Ray Stockman saying, we have stories to tell, and we tell thousands of them in any given year when all these statistics are added up. And first, I just want to say that 2015 in itself was a pivotal year in terms of we had a big anniversary, a 30-year anniversary of the date and when the Northwest Community Television organization took over all the local programming from the cable company. This was huge. I actually call it a landmark decision because I don't even know if we'd be sitting here right now had it not been for that, because I started out as a cable company employee, as well as Dave Kaiser, Barb Nolan Clark, and Tim Gaffron. We all worked for the cable company prior to that in local programming. But we know that the cable companies really didn't want to do it. In fact, in many cases throughout the country, local programming operations failed because they were run or managed to fail And this organization took the reins, and, you know, we have just really gone up leaps and bounds thanks to Northwest Community Television and the Cable Commission that made that happen on May 24th, 1985. I remember the date very well, so thank you for that. It's been a long, good run. The you know, 2015 has been an extraordinary year for viewer engagement. You know, we know people watch our channels. We don't have scientific, I mean, hard numbers on the channels, but we have an idea from talking to Comcast on certain abilities they have in terms of some measurements. What we do have is some of our internet. You know, we obviously know how many people are watching various video clips and things. And our numbers have gone through the roof. We're here to serve our cities and produce local content that reflects the ever-changing communities by producing stories, events, and public meetings. And we provide training to individuals and organizations who want to tell their story. Last year was also kind of a pivotal year in terms of the number of meetings. I mean, we've surpassed 10,000 public meetings that we've covered. So we talk about transparency. In fact, I put out a little ad in the NWCT magazine that transparency for us is more than a buzzword. I mean, it's real. So when you think about that, 10,000 public meetings covered since we started, that's a phenomenal number and true transparency out there from all the meetings that are covered, both on the air and then watched now on the internet. In terms of public access, you know, one of the things we pride ourselves here is that we really have very low turnover in staff. I mean, I think the staff here is, you know, I can't thank them enough for the job that they do. And just like in public access alone, there's 7 people, and they have like over 90 years of experience between them all, because there's a lot of them have been here for so long. And under the leadership of Barb, she's had 30 years plus now, and Tamisha, who's a studio manager, 28 years. It bodes well and keeps this organization running consistently. They produced over 1,100 programs. They had over 888 hours of programming time. They have an active member list of around 611 people. They had total class participants in 2015 as 151. They had Super Saturday sessions where people can come in and learn as much as they can in one day, and it's really a great idea to kind of like cover it all in a very short period of time. They've had advanced classes and volunteer conference, and so hats off to the Community Access Department for all they've done. And they've also were recognized in the Midwest Media Awards with 5 different awards for various things, including the promo series that was produced called Share Your Passion, and some awards on the Do-It-Yourself program, and Javi's Tech Tips. Javier's one of our employees here. So again, they were recognized for that. In terms of Channel 12, there's news, sports, events, community corner, government related programming. A lot has been accomplished there. In terms of news, there were over 250 daily newscasts and 47 weekend newscasts. If you average, say, average story count is 8 to 12, so I'd say, okay, take that times 10 stories per newscast. That's over, just within a year, that's over 2,500 stories, not including sports stories, but just 2,500 stories in the newscast alone, not including what's happening in Community Corner. You know, all about the Northwest suburbs, local, hyper-local content, well-produced, and that's amazing. So, again, a lot has happened there. We've had special programs. One was about Project Parks, which we're proud of. We did a special on the park systems within the various cities in the Northwest suburbs and some of the upgrades that they've done. And we did a look back special. It was kind of an off-year election, but we did some election coverage. And this coming year, obviously, is going to be a huge election year for us. The Channel 12 was recognized with 3 Emmy nominations, several first place awards from the National Photographers Association, and a record 11 Midwest Journalists Association awards, 8 for news and 3 for sports that we're very proud of. And then in the events department, over 163 production events covered, 297 sports content segments, and 41 sports jam programs produced. Community involvement, we're out there all the time in various things. You'll see Dave Kaiser at most of them. Dave is over there in the corner. He is kind of one of the big recognizable faces on Channel 12, and he does a good job at these community involvement things and getting other staff to participate as well. We're very proud of that effort that Dave leads with the staff on that, and so that's a big part of what we do. Community Corner is a huge effort for us. It's a show hosted by Ann Gallagher and Dave Kaiser. There were 243 Community Corner videos, and there were some longer segments, 50 of those, community calendars, Mayor's Minutes, 96, business feature, and speaker series. And in 2015, Dave, Tim, and the Community Corner staff did some minor adjustments to the program to add a business and speaker series segment, which is really working out quite well, and the Mayor's Minute segments have been expanded. What's interesting about the speaker series is that we'll go out and cover, you know, Dave and I have talked forever, it's like there's all these special speakers who might come to like a Rotary Club or a Chamber of Commerce, and it's just like they always have something interesting to say. So, you know, if we're gonna send a photographer out there to just get a quick soundbite, why don't we just cover the whole thing and then play a little, a minute or two on Community Corner, and then if people want to watch the entire speaker segment, they can do so on the internet. So that has worked quite well. So hats off to Dave and Tim and Ann, Chris, and Beth Anderson who work on that program, and Roger Larson who helps out as well. City history, I think we're finally going to see our, Dave's nodding his head, yes, we're going to see our first city history program coming out hopefully by the end of this month or very beginning of March. Robbinsdale, I got a little sneak peek. Roger Larson, who's an amazing editor here and videographer, can practically edit with his eyes closed because he's so quick at it. He doesn't even have to look at the keyboard practically. And he was just showing me some segments on the Robbinsdale program. So we're getting very close on that, and we hope to get more programs going now once we get that first program launched. So we're very excited about that. In terms of municipal meetings covered, there was over 385 meetings covered in 2015. And then Granicus video views of the various cities, and that's watching content on the internet. A grand total of 20,493 views simply on the internet alone for city council information. That doesn't include anybody who's watching the programs live on the air and at their home. We don't obviously, you know, have that number, but it's a significant number. I mean, when you think about, you know, you'll be sitting in the council chambers wondering if there's anybody out there watching. Well, this tells you there people are watching you. So, and again, it's all boiled down to the transparency we talked about before, and this is a really important service here. And Tim Gaffron from our staff, he's like the orchestra leader. It just somehow all goes smoothly with these meetings all the time. So I want to thank Tim for his efforts with that, and all of our technical staff who's there, like Jamie and Sean, making sure things are working technically as well. One little thing we met on last year, unfortunately, there was an incident at the city of New Hope, the tragic shooting situation. So we did shortly thereafter convene a committee, a Policies and Activities Committee, to start talking about things we should do in terms of when something like that happens, a tragic type situation, what we should do. And Tim has implemented various procedures with the help of the local cities for that. Should, God forbid, that ever happen again, we hope it doesn't. But we did address that issue. Quickly, I want to mention Gov Delivery. We had a 33% increase in total subscribers for GovDelivery. We're up to 1,400 subscribers. This is our stakeholder groups. These are city council members, school board members, people just plainly interested in the community, nonprofit organization leaders who want to get our clips. Again, we send out clips every Monday. If you're not on this list, you let us know, and David would be more than happy to sign you up. Or if you know people who would like to be on this list, let us know, and we can certainly contact them. Or if you give us their email address, we'll add them to the GovDelivery list. But we, you know, it's look at. I'll use this analogy. I mean, why is Amazon so popular? Well, Amazon has made it very convenient for people to do things. They can go shop and see things, you know, buy something with one click, and they make it so simple. Well, one of the things in terms of a business, you want to have great customer service, but in our business, we want to make it simple for people. I mean, why make it difficult for people to find content and try to go through, you know, we've got hundreds of channels on the cable system. It's all really difficult to kind of navigate. Well, we think we've found a formula to get content to specific people, and one of the ways is through this GovDelivery system, where every Monday these various stakeholders and city leaders get an email blast of content that they're interested in. So if I'm a council member in Maple Grove and I just want Maple Grove information, well, Dave and this is another magical act that happens all the time. There's a lot of people involved in encoding clips and organizing the whole thing, but it simply works. And I want to thank Dave and all of his staff for doing that as well, to get these content clips out to the cities. And then we just want to make it easy for you, so you're not having to go through and, you know, try to drill through the website and find all this content information. We're delivering it right to you every Monday. So, and we're seeing increases in that. So thank you. Finally, or not finally, the next thing I wanted to mention is the app. The app is app downloads have increased by 50%. We're now up to 2,800. Oh, in 2015, 2,884 people downloaded our app. We're now up to nearly 5,000 people who have our app on their phone, whether it's Droid or Apple or even the new Windows phone. So we're very excited about that. And I know, in particular, just even in this room, I've heard from several board members and commissioners who use that app frequently to access content for Channel 12. So if they can't watch it on the air, they'll go on the app and watch it on their schedule. And this number is something I want to mention in terms of overall statistics in terms of hits and views of content. So in 2014, we had 1.2 million views, average of 102,140, I'm sorry, an average of 76,000, no, that's hours. Let me go to content here. 1.2 million views in 2014, and then we went up to 1.7 million views in 2015. And so that is an amazing number. I mean, you could see the various monthly statistics. Like we're up to now roughly, you know, anywhere between 10 to 12,000 video clips of hours, I'm sorry, but actual views in a given month. I mean, if you look at this in December or November of last year, we had 194,000 views or 156,000 views. That's phenomenal. So that just shows we are making an impact in the community based, you know, just on that alone. And then the website statistics have also gone up from 173,000 in a year to 192,000 unique visitors to the website. And finally, before I entertain any questions here, I want to thank Tim Gaffron, John Jacobson, Mike from the news department, Dave Kaiser, and Barb Nolan Clark for contributing this report, and then Wendy Brierly here for putting it all together. We hope you enjoyed this report, and I certainly would entertain any questions you may have.
Any questions? George?
Two things. Number one is this is great. I enjoyed reading through it and looking at all the information, and I've already shared some of it with people in town that they might benefit from it, or they might appreciate knowing it. And my other question is, when you're talking about reminding the city council members that there are people watching, were you looking at Bill and I in particular? Or?
I was looking over that way.
For a reason.
Yeah, that's right.
Anything else? Well, thank you. Thank you for putting that report together.
You're welcome.
Anything else the executive director would like to tell us today on the executive director's report?
Yes, and I will make my segment quick, and then we'll move on to the other items. Orientation, I mentioned, well, with our new member, Sue Ellen, she did go through a little orientation session, and those have been very helpful for new board members. She learned a lot about the difference between the Cable Commission and the board, and, you know, the history, what we do, how long we've been around, how often we meet, the different committees, and so you know, every time I do this with a new board member or commissioner, they're always very happy, and many of you now have gone through that. At least people who have, we started this process about 3 or 4 years ago. The people who have been on longer than that kind of learned on their own, but we think that system has worked very well. And not only have we done the orientations for the board members and commissioners, we started last year, as you know, we've had some new, Al retired, so we have a new city administrator in Maple Grove, and we also have a new city manager in Golden Valley. We also gave them a little orientation session. We think it's important for our city managers, and we will even probably reach beyond that, but I did have an orientation session with each one of those individually, and they learned a lot about the organization. We think it's important from the, mainly, I mean, there's a lot of reasons, but when the news department comes knocking on the door or calling, and they're not originally, say, from the northwest suburbs or familiar with it, we want them to know, you know, what our philosophy is in terms of like news. It's not like the 60 Minutes, you know, Mike Wallace is going to show up and, you know, we're here to do investigative reporting and all that. That's not what we're here to do. And so they walked out of here with a much better feeling, knowing like what we're here. We're here to do local community content about the cities, but we're not here to do investigative gotcha type pieces. That's not why we're here, and we'll never be here for that reason. So so that was very helpful for them to understand the whole organization and how Community Corner works, the news, public access, all the government programming, city council coverage, and so we'll probably expand that out further, maybe even, you know, offer that to even city council members who may want to know more about this organization, because it's always good that we can kind of tell our story. So, so the orientations have gone very well. Next, I just want to briefly mention Dave Kaiser has been organizing the mission and vision plan that we've got going. We've been meeting with staff, talking about the mission and the vision for the future. We just at staff level at this point, we want to get it and start talking to the executive committee, then on to the full board. Had a lot of great input up to this point, and Dave's done a really good job organizing the meetings and talking to staff about it. We've come up with some, what we think is some really good base information to start, so we can kind of move things forward and take a look at things, because as you recall, I mentioned, I think it was at the May meeting, I talked that we were going to go through some type of process. It's been a long time since we've taken a look at the mission and vision of Northwest Community Television. So this is a good chance to kind of sit down and then start getting people involved and talking about where we want to be down the road, what roadblocks there might be down the road, things to be concerned about, whether it's, you know, funding issues, content, how it's aired, you know, that type of thing. So we're very excited about keeping that process moving along. And again, thanks to Dave and the staff for their input so far. Next item. If you recall, in the budget, we talked about doing some remodeling. Barb's going to talk in a little bit about the control room. The reason we're only doing one camera today is because our control room is totally shut down, and it's going to be gone through some remodeling. But I'll let Barb talk about that in detail. This is just a photo of the up front area over on the Channel 12 side of the building. There's some blue tape on the ground. we're going to be expanding our server room. So in order to do that, we have to add another edit room, and we're putting an audio booth on the one side for staff. So we're going to finish up that space. That will the blue tape will be gone, I think, within about a week or two, when they'll start doing the walls, the sheetrock walls, stud walls, and so we're very excited to get that process moving along. That's the first of several phases within the building of doing some updates with new carpeting, some paint, new front counter system, and so that'll all be happening over the next year, and I just wanted to mention that. The next, I want to mention that we have an old truck that no longer belongs to us. I think that truck is about 20 years old. Called it the B unit. It was like a utility truck that we used. It was an old production truck that we turned into a utility truck. We used it in parades. We had a gigantic, you may have remembered, we had this gigantic wrap of our news talent all over this truck. But before we got rid of the truck, so to speak, we ended up trading it in for a new truck. We had to unwrap the truck, as you say, because we didn't want somebody driving the old truck, and it had a lot of miles and didn't work very well, but maybe some plumber or electrician would have bought it, but we didn't want our logos and our talent going, around the Twin Cities or in northern Minnesota, and maybe they break the speed limit with the truck, and that gives us that doesn't look good for Channel 12. So we had to unwrap the truck, and it's gone, and it was a lot of applause from the staff once we got rid of it. And a funny little side note, so we went in to clean out the truck. We had to pull out some scaffolding, and staff goes in there, opens the doors, goes to remove some things, and all of a sudden 3 flying squirrels come out and just run. And we go, okay, that's it, we're done. And so we brought it to the Ford dealer who we do business with here in town, and then ended up getting a replacement truck. So, and that replacement truck is right here. It's the new Ford. It's sitting out in the lot. You can see it out there. So that will be our new utility truck, which will hopefully give us 15, 20 years of service, similar to the last one.
Didn't find any old staff in there, did you?
No old staff in the old truck, and this one came squirrel-free, so we're very excited about that. Are there any questions?
I was just wondering, on the update, have you ever thought of doing the sign out here, Channel 12? That sign looks so old.
Yes. Wait, that is actually in the budget.
Oh,
I'm very excited about the new sign. That'll be in before the end of the year. And I think the snowplow even ran into it, so now it's starting to tip over. Yeah, that has seen better days, and we have it in this year's budget, so we're very excited about giving it a new look. That's been the original sign we had here since day one. And it's seen better days, so I can't wait to unveil a new one.
Okay. Other staff reports?
Yeah, there are other staff reports. Dave?
Thank you, Mike. Take a couple minutes to give you a quick video update. We have 4 under 1-minute videos to show you, and we'll jump right into them. The first is from Community Corner. And 4 of the cities are deep into light rail discussion, as I'm sure you all have heard. So we've been doing many stories in Community Corner about that. And here's a clip from the city of Crystal.
The stationary plan really deals with land use. It's to a half-mile radius around each station. And it just looks at things like connections to the station. How do people get there? Either by car, by bike, by walking. Also, it looks at land use. Do we like the land use around the station now? If not, what's missing? What could we develop, or what could be put there to serve the residents and the business owners of the community better? This is a great opportunity for Crystal residents. They'll be able to hop on the light rail, and with that one-stop ticket, they can go downtown Minneapolis, they can go down to the airport, they can go to the Mall of America.
So again, a look at some of the footage that we go out and get here in our local area, but other footage that we get from the Metropolitan Council, related to just keep people up to date on what's happening with station area planning or the consent phases with the light rail. Mike mentioned within the annual report some of the things we've done with Community Corner and reaching out a little bit further to the speaker series. And also we're doing some things with nonprofit groups. So on a rotating basis, we're trying to reach out to who else is out there in the community that makes a difference. Coming up, we've got the Rotary in just a couple weeks. But here's a clip of the Toastmasters.
What is Toastmasters? It is a worldwide communication and leadership organization. Right now we have 12,700 clubs in 126 countries throughout the world.
And if people are going to attend a meeting, I'm sure the #1 question is, who's there with me and what happens at a meeting? Give us a little idea, look inside.
The age range goes from any person 18 and older up to whoever wants to be there for as long as they want. Background and experience goes from the professionals to the housewives to the students that are still in school.
So again, he was from one of the local groups, and they are actually having a special series of speaking classes going on at the Crystal Heather's Manor facility coming up. So that was part of it. But again, trying to explain a little bit more of what is Toastmasters, and you hear about the local clubs, just what do they do. The next clip I have is from one of the news specials, and Mike in our news department put together a short note here about it. We aired a 12 news special on Thanksgiving and Christmas talking about stories where people face long and hard odds. It was called Against the Odds, Stories of Triumph and Inspiration. Here's a short clip.
Straight ahead, a 12 news special.
If you want to do it, you have to really focus on it.
Against the Odds, Stories of Triumph and Inspiration. Meet people who have taken on big challenges, like swimming the English Channel or battling disease.
It's very emotional that she would be giving up a portion of her body for me so that I could survive.
Against the Odds, next on 12 News. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining.
So again, there are some amazing people here in the northwest suburbs, and it was an opportunity to go out and find some of those stories and pass those along. And there were stories we had done earlier in the year, and then we put them together into one special and also followed up on what had happened with some of those unique stories. It is posted on our website if you by chance missed it. The last clip I have is from sports, and obviously we're getting into the playoff season, but we are just ending the regular season in some sports, and I've got a quick clip of some hockey from Wayzata and Benilde St. Margaret. We'll show that clip, and then I'm going to explain a little bit more of how we went a little further with that game. Here's that clip.
And it's picked up by Benilde there. He's lethal. And the short-handed unit takes a heavy check there at center. Kavinsky. Wayzata with control. Here comes Anderson down the sliding. Oh, yes! Ryan Anderson scores, and it's 1-0 Wayzata.
Oh, my gosh.
Into the game.
Tremendously unselfish play by the Trojans here. Just a beautiful setup. 2 passes up into the slot when he got covered. It finally ended up on Grant Anderson's stick, and he just rips it into the lower right corner and puts the Trojans ahead. 1-0 against Benilde. Just a great play, John, overall, capitalizing on the power play.
So again, some great high school sports. We have some wonderful teams in our area. Currently, the girls' state hockey tournament is going on, and Maple Grove is in that tournament from our area, and we expect a handful of boys' teams to be in there as well. But just to explain a little bit more of how they went further with this game, and it's some things we've been experimenting with, is obviously we know we have the viewers on the channel that are watching the game. But how can we take it further? And with the explosion of social media, what can you do to reach a little bit further? So I have some statistics here that the game was on February 11th, live on our Channel 12 and also on our website. Nearly 1,000 viewers of the game on live stream, and so that is what is on our website, and we can keep track of that. So as a viewer clicks on, we see the number continue to go up. So beyond who we're watching on our channel on the Comcast system, we had 1,000 viewers live that night on live stream. We then sent out 17 game-related tweets. So these guys in the truck don't just sit there and push the buttons to do the cameras, but they're also going, how can we tweet something out? So they're trying to send information out. And we've done this in the past where we'll send a tweet just with text information that John Smith scores a goal for Wayzata in the first period. Then they got to think, well, what if we add video to that? So they now have a way that they can take video of a monitor in front of them of the goal that was just scored, send out the clip saying John Smith from Wayzata just scored, and people can click on that video and actually see the video of the goal as well through a tweet. So I don't understand it all, but it is happening, and the guys in the truck understand it. So 17 game-related tweets, 5 of these had real-time video, 2,229 views of the videos within the first 4 hours. So you have those people that are watching it live on the channel, live on live stream. Then these people in the Twitter world are out there finding these tweets and watching the videos of these goals or action within the game. And then 30,000 impressions from the tweets. So that's how many people those tweets could possibly reach as they were sent out. So again, we continue to experiment with social media and ways we can continue to send this content out. The key for us is the content. But then our best bet is, and Mike mentioned it earlier, is to try to find the best ways to send that content out so everyone can reach it. So we continue to work at that efforts, and if you have any suggestions or see some of these new ways that are being done, certainly let us know. So that's a quick update.
Good morning, everyone. This is a really big week for us here in public access. We have started kind of our final phase of our HD upgrade, and that is the redoing of our control room and upgrading everything to HD. And so behind you is just kind of some images of what happened here on Tuesday. If you look up in the left top corner, that's what the control room looked like at about, I don't know, 9:50 or something like that, maybe close to 10 a.m. And with the help of staff, everybody got involved by about, I think it was like before 11 o'clock. They had cleared the room, and I'm telling you, it was all equipment was gone, and probably the heaviest thing was the equipment console. So hats off to all the staff that put work into that, and I just want to really give a lot of credit to Jamie. Jamie has done a phenomenal job of putting together a plan for this remodel. He's took suggestions from staff, he's answered our questions, and he has made this process really easy. So thanks, Jamie, and Sean too. He's really helped out with all of our IT questions as well. Just to show you how it went, maybe we can show a quick video. This was Tuesday morning. We are kind of posting things like this up throughout the whole remodel process to kind of keep volunteers on top of what is going on in the facility. So go ahead, Sean. What we're planning to do then is we're hoping that the entire remodel will be ready to go by March 11th. So we are going to be holding an open house. You guys are all invited to. It's going to happen between 4 and 8. I'm going to kind of shift this way. But we're going to be offering control room tours. You got a little bit ahead of me there. Control room tours, a look at some of our new sets and props that we've purchased, and also we're doing an HD makeup seminar. We have a lot of people interested. They're like, oh my gosh, HD is coming. I want to, you know, they're going to be really up and close and personal, so we're going to actually be having some demonstrations. Also, too, the end of last year we got a great budget to kind of redo our sets and props. We had not had one for a long time. So Nikki Jacket went to work, and she enlisted the help of some design students over at Dunwoody, and we were able to put together, looking at things that we already had and buying some new things, about 6 new interchangeable sets that volunteers can use. And you guys can say that we really needed new sets. We did. So this is kind of them stashed over in Studio B right now, but we thought we'd give you a sneak peek at one of them. So this is one of the new sets. It's a little hard to see, but again, Nikki did a great job of working with these people to put together some new looks. We're really hoping to kind of upgrade the look now that we're HD and give people a lot more choices. Okay, go ahead, Sean. Also, coming up in April is National Volunteer Week, and so we are going to get on board with that. It's April 10th through the 16th. We're just going to do a lot of things to really highlight our volunteers because they do amazing things here. So off on the side are just some of the things that we plan on doing. One of the things I'm excited about is just using social media to get the word out about what our volunteers are actually doing. We also want to kind of do it's a social media kind of campaign that we want to do. We want to start kind of a hashtag campaign, Team NWCT. These guys all work together as teams to get programming done, and that's one thing we're going to be doing that week is just to kind of have them highlight what they do here and kind of show the team spirit that they all have working together here at NWCT. Okay, Sean. The last Share Your Passion promo was out. As you know, Nikki Jackett produces. Roger Larson shot these. So I thought we could go ahead and play. This is the last installment of the Share Your Passion promo.
Whether you want to produce your own show or work behind the scenes, at Northwest Community Television, our free training will put you on the fast track to creating videos for TV and the internet. Our facility offers tools and equipment used by professionals, and expert instructors are on hand to guide you through turning your concept into programming. What are you waiting for? Start now to share your passion. Visit NWCT.org.
And that is currently showing on 12 and is headed on its way, I believe, Dave, to Comcast as well. And then finally, we just, staff wanted to say welcome Sue Ellen Zagrabelny to the board. We're happy to have you. She brings a lot of experience. She's really, she produces a show, she crews on a lot of shows, so she's, we're happy to have you on the board joining Scott and Zipporah. And any questions?
Is there a way to capture the YouTube information for volunteers like it was done for Channel 12?
For like just the statistics?
Yes.
Yes, most definitely. Yep, we can do that, most definitely. Anything else? All right, thank you.
Hey, Tim.
I'll try and be brief. As Mike mentioned, we did do a grand total of about 385 municipal city hall-based events last year. Those include city council meetings, planning commissions, EDA, HRA, and other events such as budget meetings, employee benefits presentations, public safety, parks and rec meetings, work sessions. I just did a quick calculation while I was sitting over here. If we took 2 hours for each of those and $150 per hour for closed captioning, the total cost would have been about $115,500. So just to kind of piggyback on what we were talking about earlier. Moving forward in 2016, I'm not going to talk about 2015. It's in the report, so you don't need me to tell you that. Moving forward in 2016, council chambers remodel and broadcast system replacement is underway. The planning and execution of that at Brooklyn Center City Hall is the last of our city halls to have update done. New Hope is in the process of looking at possibly building a new city hall in the next year or two. Presumably would replace their system at that time, and so we're keeping an eye on that. With broadcast system life of about 8 to 10 years, and through this rotation, we're only 2 to 3 years away from starting our rotation over again through their City Council Chambers replacement process. I think we talked about that at Golden Valley not too long ago, that, gee, we're only 2 to 3 years away from having to look at that again, and so it's a constant changeover thing. Other technical projects that we've got coming forward in 2016, we are, as mentioned earlier, expanding the community television, the server room here at our facility, and when that is complete, we'll be moving most of the City Hall-based Channel 16 equipment, the replay and the billboarding equipment to this facility so that we can better manage it. We have been working with Comcast to improve the signal delivery methods for the City Channel 16s to accommodate that, making it fiber-based whenever possible. And so, you know, we're looking forward to that, and that's one of the big projects that we're working on this year as we move forward with technical upgrades. Another item that we briefly touched on is CenturyLink. We anticipate that taking a significant amount of time this year when it comes to pass. Working with them to make sure they're able to provide the City Hall and Channel 16 feeds as required by the franchise, or presumably will be required by the franchise. We've already worked with them in 2015 quite a bit to do site inspections and surveys so they know what's going on. They've actually already been trying to get into some city halls with their lines and stuff and pulling permits and things like that, and our advice has been to the cities to, well, we don't have an agreement in place, so it's up to you whether you want to allow that to happen yet. And I think most of the cities have said we'll hold off on that until we know where we're at with CenturyLink. So all of a sudden it's going to hit the fan with that, and that will be a significant time taker when it comes to pass sometime this year. So there's a lot of behind-the-scenes activity anticipated for this coming year, and we'll just keep plugging away at it and get her done. And if there's any questions, I'm happy to take them.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's it. Anything else for the Board of Directors meeting? All right, so looking for a motion to adjourn and to remind the Cable Commission Executive Committee that they're meeting right after this meeting, and that's not those of you that just joined the Board of Directors committees, it's the other side, so. The other side. Motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
Adjourn. Motion, second. All right. All those in favor? Thank you.